How to remember words. Elara often felt a knot in her stomach whenever the topic of speaking English arose in conversation. She understood many words, read proficiently, but producing coherent sentences, especially under pressure, seemed an insurmountable hurdle. The vibrant world of international communication felt tantalizingly out of reach, limited by her own self-doubt and the fear of making embarrassing mistakes. She yearned for fluency. Her ultimate ambition wasn't just academic mastery, it was a profound desire to truly connect. To share laughter, discuss ideas, and understand different perspectives without the constant internal translation process. She imagined participating in lively debates, making friends from diverse backgrounds, and exploring new cultures without language barriers. This dream fueled her journey daily. The first cornerstone of her transformative journey became a simple, yet powerful, directive: listen English. She dedicated hours, immersing herself in a kaleidoscope of British podcasts, from eloquent documentaries to casual, witty interviews. Her initial goal wasn't precise comprehension of every single word, but rather to absorb the natural cadence, the unique intonation, and the authentic flow of spoken language. Consistency was her unwavering mantra. Whether commuting on a crowded bus or unwinding in the quiet of her evening, her earphones were always delivering a steady stream of authentic British voices. She didn't just passively listen, she actively engaged, noting peculiar phrases, interesting expressions, and the subtle nuances of pronunciation. This immersion slowly began to chip away at her linguistic inhibitions. This active process evolved into her core method: listen and practice. She started repeating short phrases, mimicking the distinct accents and speech patterns, even whispering them to herself when alone. This direct engagement transformed listening from a passive activity into a dynamic, interactive learning experience, building crucial muscle memory for her tongue and vocal cords. Then came the formidable challenge of expanding her lexicon. Her persistent question was, how to remember words. Rote memorization felt ineffective and tedious. Instead, she discovered the power of context, noting down new vocabulary in her journal, always accompanied by the full sentence in which she first encountered it. This contextual learning provided deeper, more lasting retention. She also began to visualize words, associating them with vivid mental images or even short, imaginative stories. For instance, picturing a serene lake with ripples gently spreading across its surface helped ingrain the word far more effectively than merely defining it. This imaginative approach made learning enjoyable, turning a chore into a creative pursuit. Soon, she realized the indispensable role of written language, understanding why reading is so important. She devoured British novels, newspapers, and online articles, allowing her to encounter new words and complex sentence structures in their natural habitat. Reading broadened her vocabulary immensely and refined her understanding of grammar and syntax. Reading wasn't just an academic exercise, it became a source of immense pleasure. She lost herself in captivating narratives, exploring diverse worlds and fascinating characters, all while subconsciously absorbing the intricacies of English prose. This enjoyable immersion reinforced her learning, proving that education could be both effective and profoundly entertaining. It was a revelation. A particular fascination developed for the distinct nuances of British English. "Let's talk in British English" became her specific goal, captivated by its elegant phrasing and varied regional accents. She actively sought out British media, fine-tuning her ear to subtle differences in pronunciation and idiomatic expressions, determined to speak with an authentic, clear British inflection. She spent hours practicing specific sounds, like the T in butter or the long in bath, mimicking native speakers she heard. This meticulous attention to phonetics, though challenging, gradually polished her pronunciation, making her speech clearer and more natural. It was a painstaking but rewarding process, adding authenticity to her developing fluency. With a growing vocabulary and refined listening skills, Elara knew the time had come to brave actual conversations. She constantly asked herself how to talk in English. The initial fear still lingered, a cold hand squeezing her throat, but her preparation had instilled a quiet confidence. She started by mentally rehearsing common scenarios, preparing herself mentally. Her first attempts were simple, tentative exchanges in online forums or with understanding language partners. Each small conversation, no matter how brief or imperfect, felt like a monumental victory. She embraced every mistake as a valuable learning opportunity, refusing to let minor stumbles deter her progress. This resilience was truly key. The biggest hurdle was overcoming the ingrained fear of judgment. She learned that most people were incredibly patient and encouraging, genuinely appreciating her effort. This realization was liberating, slowly eroding the walls of self-consciousness that had previously confined her. Her confidence grew with every spoken word, paving the way for more fluid exchanges. Her confidence eventually blossomed to the point where she started considering how to talk with anyone. She realized that genuine curiosity and a willingness to listen were just as important as perfect grammar. Small talk became less daunting, as she focused on active listening and asking open-ended questions to keep conversations flowing. She began by initiating conversations with people she met casually, starting with simple greetings and slowly expanding into deeper discussions. A shared interest, a common observation, or even a brief comment about the weather could serve as a perfect icebreaker. These small, consistent steps built her conversational stamina and reduced her inhibitions. Every conversation became a new learning experience. She would note down new expressions, observe different communication styles, and even reflect on her own delivery. This analytical approach, combined with practical application, accelerated her progress exponentially. She understood that real-world interaction was the ultimate classroom, offering invaluable, unfiltered lessons. She discovered that effective communication wasn't solely about speaking, it was equally about active listening. Paying close attention to what others said, asking clarifying questions, and responding thoughtfully made her a much more engaging conversationalist. This focus on reciprocity fostered deeper connections and enriched her understanding of cultural nuances. Elara also embraced a delightful method: learn English through stories. She found that narratives, whether fictional tales or real-life anecdotes, made language acquisition incredibly engaging and memorable. The emotional connection to characters and plots helped new vocabulary and grammatical structures stick far more effectively than dry textbooks. She started with simplified readers, gradually progressing to more complex literary works. Each story offered a window into British culture, history, and humor, providing not just linguistic lessons but also profound cultural insights. This organic method of learning through captivating narratives transformed her English journey into an adventure. Reflecting on her journey, Elara realized the best way to learn English wasn't a universal formula, but a personalized blend of consistent listening, contextual vocabulary acquisition, extensive reading, and brave speaking practice. It was an evolving process, tailored to her own learning style and interests. This adaptable approach proved highly effective. She understood that relying on just one method wouldn't yield comprehensive results. Instead, it was the synergistic combination of various techniques, from detailed phonetic practice to immersing herself in popular British sitcoms, that truly propelled her forward. This holistic strategy ensured all aspects of language learning were addressed. Her journey transformed from a theoretical pursuit into a practical, living experience. Every new word learned, every conversation held, and every story read added another layer to her linguistic tapestry. The initial struggle had evolved into a fulfilling and exciting process of continuous discovery, far beyond her initial expectations. One day, Elara found herself effortlessly chatting with a British tourist in a bustling cafe, discussing recent news with surprising fluency. There was no internal translation, no hesitant fumbling for words, just a natural, flowing exchange. It was a profound moment of realization, marking the true extent of her incredible progress and dedication. Her newfound confidence wasn't just evident in her words, but in her entire demeanor. She held her head higher, her eyes sparkled with newfound assurance, and her smile became more genuine. The language barrier that once felt like an insurmountable wall had crumbled, replaced by bridges of communication and connection. Having traversed her own challenging path, Elara felt compelled to share her insights. She now thought, "Let me tell you talking tips," eager to guide others struggling with similar anxieties. Her empathy, born from personal experience, made her advice particularly resonant and impactful for aspiring English speakers worldwide. Her first and most crucial tip always emphasized embracing imperfection. "Don't fear making mistakes," she would advise warmly. "They are not failures, but stepping stones towards fluency." She stressed that errors were simply feedback, invaluable pointers revealing areas that required further attention and practice. This mindset shift was paramount. She passionately advocated for consistent immersion, echoing her own successful strategy. "Surround yourself with English daily," she'd urge, "even if it's just 5 minutes of listening to a podcast or reading a short article." She believed small, regular doses were far more effective than sporadic, intense study sessions. "Find your unique motivation," she would often say, emphasizing that personal drive sustains long-term learning. Whether it was for travel, career, or pure enjoyment, identifying that core reason kept enthusiasm high during challenging phases. Her own dream of global connection had been her guiding star throughout. Elara stressed the absolute necessity of active speaking practice, even if initially with oneself. "Talk to yourself in English," she'd suggest with a smile, "narrate your day, describe objects around you." This internal monologue built confidence and trained her mouth muscles for external conversation. She encouraged direct engagement with native speakers whenever possible, highlighting its unparalleled benefits. "Seek out language exchange partners or online communities," she advised. "Authentic conversations expose you to real-world usage, slang, and cultural nuances that textbooks simply cannot replicate." This interaction was truly transformative. Revisiting her own effective methods, she reiterated the power of contextual vocabulary. Forget isolated lists, she'd explain. Learn words within phrases or sentences you actually encounter. She demonstrated how this approach made words stick, giving them meaning and practical application, unlike abstract definitions alone. Her advice also strongly recommended reading for sheer pleasure. Don't just read for information, she urged. Lose yourself in a compelling British novel. She believed that enjoyment fostered consistency, transforming learning into an escape rather than a chore, thereby enhancing retention and overall comprehension. Dive into British television series and films, she'd enthusiastically suggest, with subtitles initially, then without. She explained how this immersive visual and auditory experience was invaluable for understanding colloquialisms, cultural references, and the natural rhythm of everyday conversations. It was learning disguised as entertainment. A practical tip she often gave was recording oneself speaking. It feels awkward at first, she admitted, but listening back allows you to objectively identify pronunciation issues, intonation patterns, and areas needing improvement. This self-assessment tool provided tangible progress markers, building self-awareness. For those interested in her chosen accent, she provided specific guidance on how, let's talk in British English, effectively. Pay attention to vowel sounds, glottal stops, and specific regional variations, she detailed, sharing resources for authentic exposure. This specialized focus resonated with many aspiring learners. Ultimately, Elara's most profound advice was to view English learning not as a destination, but as a continuous, enriching journey. Embrace every step, she would conclude, the successes, the challenges, the small breakthroughs, and the moments of pure frustration. This holistic perspective fostered resilience. Through her story and her tips, Elara became a beacon of hope and practical guidance for countless individuals. Her clear, relatable advice, delivered with genuine warmth and understanding, resonated deeply with students facing similar hurdles. She proved that dedication, combined with smart strategies, yields remarkable results. The shy girl who once feared speaking a single English word had transformed into a confident, articulate mentor, effortlessly conversing and sharing her wisdom. Her evolution was a testament to the power of perseverance and the right learning approach, inspiring a new generation of language learners. Now, when Elara engaged in conversations, whether with strangers or old friends, the underlying question of how to talk with anyone no longer existed. It had been replaced by an innate confidence, a genuine desire to connect, and an effortless flow of communication. Her conversations flowed naturally, punctuated by laughter and thoughtful pauses, reflecting a deep comfort with the language. She could express complex ideas, crack witty jokes, and engage in heartfelt discussions, truly embodying the spirit of fluid communication she had once only dreamed of achieving. English, once a formidable barrier, had now become a powerful tool in her hands, opening doors to new friendships, exciting career opportunities, and deeper cultural understanding. It was no longer a subject to be mastered, but a living, breathing part of her identity. The initial struggle with how to remember words had faded into a natural process. Her brain had developed efficient pathways, associating new vocabulary effortlessly within context, making retention almost subconscious. Learning new words became a joyful expansion, not a laborious task. Her ear, once untrained and overwhelmed by foreign sounds, now effortlessly processed spoken English, discerning accents, moods, and intentions. Listen English was no longer a conscious effort but an intuitive understanding, allowing her to fully engage in conversations without strain. Why reading is so important had manifested in her life not just as a learning strategy but as a beloved hobby. She continued to devour books, her comprehension deepening with every page, enriching her perspectives and further solidifying her linguistic foundation. Elara truly believed she had discovered the best way to learn English for herself, not a rigid method, but a flexible, iterative process of immersion, practice, and persistent self-correction. It was a holistic approach that celebrated every small victory. Even after achieving remarkable fluency, Elara understood that language learning was a lifelong journey of continual refinement and growth. There was always a new idiom to discover, a subtle pronunciation to perfect, or a fresh perspective to explore through conversation. Her success wasn't just personal, it became a source of profound inspiration for others. She showed that with dedication and the right strategies, anyone could overcome their language barriers and unlock the vast opportunities that fluency offered. Elara's story became a beacon, a living testament to the transformative power of language learning. Her voice, once hesitant, now carried conviction, empowering a global community of learners to embark on their own journeys with renewed hope and practical guidance. So, if you are reading this, know that your English dream is attainable. Embrace the process, be patient with yourself, and remember Elara's journey from apprehension to articulation. Your voice, too, deserves to be heard, clear and confident.